over $6,000 with this simple AI faceless channel that runs fully on autopilot inside n8n. As you can see, so last month it made around $6,150. We see a peak right here at $380, and I can also show you it's USD for the currency. If you don't believe me still, you can just look up the channel. So I already told you in the title, I will reveal the channel. This is the name of it, look it up. And one thing I want to mention first is that you can see it only has 4,300 subscribers and still it makes over 6K per month. And I see many gurus, they flex with their play buttons. You see them on the thumbnail like this, flexing their buttons. But this means literally nothing in nowadays YouTube space. So many channels that don't even have like 3,000 subscribers pull in over 5K per month. And this is one of them. And you also see, if we sort by popular, that most of the videos, they have like even the 5th most popular video has only 22,000 views from over 230 uploads. And right here, if we look at the views, I would say the average is like maybe 4,000 to 5,000 views, because there is some videos that get like 14,000 views, but then again, others get only 4,000. So, and some only 2,700. I just do these simple stories. There is 6 images that have like some context of the story, but they just loop through the whole video. So I only generate 6 images, loop through them for the whole video, and add some captions. And this is basically the whole video. Now we go back to my presentation. I also listed that down for you. The script costs $0 to create, images around 1 cent, and the voiceover 20 to 25 cents, because obviously each voiceover will vary in characters. So it might be 20,000 characters, 20,800, you know, the script won't be exactly the same length. So it will vary between that, but images, we will always use 6 images. So that comes to around 1 cent. And this means that each video costs under 30 cents to produce per video. I just calculated with around 30 cents per video. Then you pay $20 per month to self-host all the software that renders the videos, because I said in the beginning, the channel runs on autopilot. You need some way to render those videos. So you self-host a server, and on that server, you have all this different software that renders the video. But this also means you don't have to pay anymore for n8n subscription, because you will also self-host that. If you don't even have n8n subscription yet, I will talk about that as well. Now, first off, where do I find viral AI faceless niches? The best tool to find viral niches is TubeLab. They give you access to over 400,000 channels and 4 million outliers. And I was scrolling in the TubeLab niche finder. I found a German revenge channel that's pulling kind of good numbers like 3 months ago. And then I decided to just run this niche myself, especially as the workflow, once you have it built, then you can just scale it to different languages and different sub niches of this whole revenge style, right? You could do from an elderly lady's perspective, or a story told by a middle-aged woman or elderly male, whatever you want. You can just quickly adapt the workflow. It takes like 5 minutes, and then you can run up the next viral channel. All right, so we are in the TubeLab niche finder right now, and I just wanted to demonstrate how great it really is. So you can see I have some settings in place. These are always the settings I use to find channels. With the filters tab, you can just, for example, I only want to find channels in those languages, as these are the best ones to run YouTube automation channels in. Then we can just keep scrolling, and as you can see, these channels that haven't even been online for a week, they are shown in the TubeLab, and there's no other niche finder that can find channels that quickly. And also now what I meant with outlier and niche finder, on the top here you can click to outliers finder, and then basically what you have is a tool like 1 of 10, but integrated into TubeLab. So if you just want to find the viral YouTube channels, you can go to the niche finder. If you want to find outlier videos, you can just go here. This video, for example, I found it in the TubeLab outlier finder, adapted it to the German market. And as you can see, this video right here pulled in close to $3,000. And basically what I did is also just copy the video, you could say, or rather adapted it into German. But even the thumbnail, I made it basically 90% similar. So not much work from my part involved, and still pulled in nice money. And this is not the only time I did that. So because TubeLab has so much data, you can replicate that. You can even do exactly that now with faceless content and would still make great money. But now this video will be about the other channel we talked about. And this one runs inside n8n. n8n is a software that helps you to automate repetitive processes, such as AI customer support bots is an example that's often seen in these YouTube videos. Or this AI agent that can reply to emails, or automated onboarding emails when you have a product and then you have leads for that product. You can make an automated email sequence inside n8n. But this is not what we want to use it for. So this is like what most of the people use it for. But actually, you can also use n8n to automate producing long-form videos for YouTube. And so what I mean is you can have one workflow that finds a new viral idea. Then you could have another one that writes the script, and a workflow that finds the images or even generates images with AI. Like I have some workflows, they actually take real B-roll images, because there are APIs out there that can scrape Google images, right? And then you have another AI that checks these images, it scans the image and sees if it fits the topic. And then you can even build kind of complex channels inside n8n that run fully automated. And for this channel, the system behind it is following. First off, we scrape viral stories from the US market. And then once we find the viral videos, we will adapt those stories of the videos into other languages. Like in this example, German, French, Spanish, and so on. And then we generate fitting images plus audio, render the final video, upload, monetize, and make money with it. And so I just put an example here. These videos actually don't correlate with each other. And I also realized that this video is a bad example because I'm pretty sure it just translated an American story, as there is dollar in the title and it's a German story. But I just wanted to demonstrate like viral US videos, they get adapted into all these other languages. And we need several tools for that. So first off, we need a storage where we store like the script and we store the images and so on. We need a spreadsheet tool because for each different video, we want to have a row where we can track it and where we put the download links on. Because once the video finished rendering, we can't just go into the n8n workflow for each video and look into it where the generated video isn't downloaded from there. We want something really simple that we can just open in the morning and then we can see the videos that are generated. For today's workflow, this will look like this. So here is the place where we store the source video URLs of the videos we will adapt into the different language. And then we have the project storage folder here. So if we click on that, this is the folder where we store the final generated videos, or rather upload it there. We also have a folder where we have all the images, the clips with the zoom in effect, and the voiceover. And this is just better for organization, that you have everything in one place and you can quickly access it from the sheet. And then we have the video packaging. So this is just the text on the thumbnail and the video title. And then we have the script at least here. So the script just also, maybe we want to do something with the script or use it as a reference, whatever. We can just quickly access it here. Otherwise, if you wouldn't have a sheet, then it would be super messy. Now, we also need an API to render the video, because we know we don't want to render the video on our system, right? We want that to happen somewhere different on the server. So we can just sleep, the video renders. We don't have to drag all the images in an editing program. And for that, you could use something like JSON to video. But now I will tell you why these three are actually not the best. So first off, for the Google software, you will get rate limited pretty quickly. So I started out using Google Sheets and Google Drive for that. But once you run several channels, generate more and more videos, you will get rate limited by them, because you will just send too many requests to their server, and then you will just get an error message. You don't want that to happen, so there is other alternatives I will talk about soon. And then for the video editing API, you could use JSON to video, but it's just super expensive. If you want to scale, it will be really hard, because you can see here for the channel I showed you today, 8 videos would cost about $100. So we would bump up the cost from 30 cents per video to like $15 or something like that. And then it wouldn't be as easily scalable anymore. So you have to self-host, and that means you rent a server in some data center. It can be as low as like $10 per month, but I would suggest go with a server for at least $20 per month. And then this server, it holds your Google Drive alternative, holds the Google Sheets alternative, and you can even self-host n8n on there. So that means the n8n monthly price right now is 24 euros per month, or probably like also around $24 per month. And so even if you self-host only n8n, it would already be cheaper than if you buy the n8n subscription. And the best part on self-hosting is you don't have any limits. You can send unlimited requests And so here, n8n, you can see you can only execute 2,500 workflows per month. So not 2,500 workflows, but if you have one workflow, you could only execute it 2,500 times per month. And with the self-hosted n8n, you can do that unlimited times. So it makes it way superior and even cheaper. And you have all those different things on there. So now let's start with the first workflow, which is the idea scraper. This workflow, its task is to look for viral videos, add them to the sheet, and then trigger the video creation workflow. And this workflow then should check the sheet for any new links, see, okay, here's a new link added to it, take that link, get the transcript of the video and generate the video and so on. So basically the task for this workflow is only find the viral URLs, add them to the sheet. Now we will go into n8n and I will explain it further. We are inside n8n now, and this is the sheet right here that's connected to this workflow. So here are the URLs that are already in the sheet, and as you can see now, I will execute it now, and let's just go through it while it executes. The first node in the workflow is the schedule trigger that just tells the workflow to run every 12 hours. And after that, it hits this node right here, which contains all the channel IDs of the viral channels we want to scrape. In theory, you could put in 100 channel IDs right here. I just put in a few, so it runs quicker now in the demonstration. And then it fixes the format of them. What this means is, now you can see there's just one item right here that would then go to the loop node that loops through all the IDs. But we have 6 IDs right here, so we have to split them out. And now each ID, just to make it more organized, I gave it the channel handle. But it should always have the same name, because later we reference the channel ID as channel ID. And so if it all has a different name, then this doesn't work. So we have to rename each to channel ID. You can see this is what happened here. The code node takes each of those and puts each one into one item and also renames a channel ID. So now we have 6 items, each called channel ID, with the different IDs of the channel. And then we will loop through each ID. So you can see this node right here. If we go to run 1, or actually, oh yeah, loop branch run 1, then we can see it only gives the channel ID to the rest of the loop. And the run 2, this is the next ID. Run 3, this is the next ID, and so on. And what it does is it will hit this YouTube endpoint, and this is a free endpoint by YouTube. You can hit this with the channel ID and it will return the latest 15 uploads of that channel with title, view count, and so on. And this is great because this means we don't pay a single cent to get all this data that helps us to scrape for viral videos. First off, this whole thing, it looks like gibberish, right? So we have to format it to make it a little bit more readable and better to work with. We use this node that formats the XML to JSON inside n8n, and now it looks way better, but still there's so much unnecessary information in here, like the width and height of, I don't even know, the thumbnail probably, and the description of this video. We don't need that to find the viral videos. So we clean up the data. This is just a code node. It takes each item, so each YouTube video that's in here, and returns the URL, the title, view count, and the publishing date separately. So now we have 15 items for each video ID, which are the latest 15 uploads. And if you do that 6 times, that means now we have 90 YouTube videos that we can check for virality. So you can see after the loop is done, we have all those 90 scraped video URLs, and first we aggregate them into one item. It just makes it easier to work with. Then we have this code node that filters for the viral URL. So it will return all the URLs that match my specific criteria. In this case, the criteria is if the video is over 48 hours ago posted, then it has to have a minimum of 7,000 views. If the video was posted 12 hours ago or less, it has to have 4,000 views. And these are just the filter I found to be the best to find viral videos, because if I post 3 times per day, I also need at least 3 viral videos per day, and I also want a buffer in case the next day there might only be 2 viral videos. And so with those settings, I get around 5 to 8 viral videos per day added to the sheet, which is way more than enough to also even keep running 2 channels in just one language. And then this node right here, it's also triggered while the code node runs. And what it does is it returns all the different rows in the sheet right here. So most of them are empty now, but those contain the YouTube URL. And why do we need that? So there is some URLs right here that we added to the sheet previously. And this video, for example, it was already done. Let's say the workflow ran 12 hours ago, generated this video, but this endpoint right here, it gets the latest 15 uploads of a channel. So even if the workflow runs tomorrow, most likely the same YouTube URL that we already made into a full video is still on this channel and in those 15 videos, and will also pass the virality. So that then means that we would generate the video twice if we don't have a check-in that sees if the video was already in the sheet right here. And so we only need the YouTube links for that, right? So what we do is we get all the YouTube links from the sheet, which in this case is those 4 that you can also see right here. And then we remove all the empty ones because those we don't need them, right? This is just all the rows that don't have a YouTube URL. So we keep this 4. Then we merge them with the viral URLs. And as you can see, these are called source video URL. The viral ones are called URL. And so now we aggregate all them into one item. So these are all 9 input items, and now these are only 1. Feed that one item into a code node. And this code node checks are the source video URLs matching with the URLs. So if there is any source video URL that matches with these, it's get thrown out. And then we only output the URL that are not in the sheet. And then these URLs that are not in the sheet, we still need to find out where do we add them in the sheet. Because if we just edit them, we don't know which row already has an ID in it. We need to find the first empty row and then we add it there. And this is why we also use this data of all the rows that we got previously, get all the empty fields, because now we check with a filter, is the source video URL field empty? And then we will return all those fields where this is the case. And as you can see, 4 of the items didn't match those criteria. And these are exactly the 4 that contain the YouTube URL. As you can see, ID 1, and this is the YouTube URL. This would then be this first row, for example. So we filter them out so we don't add the new YouTube URLs there where already are URLs. And we keep 516 in this case. Then we merge them with the newly found YouTube URLs. And now we loop through them. For each loop, we have an ID and the video URL. And this is great because then we can just use this node that adds the new links to that sheet. And for the fields to send, this is just so it knows at which row should it add that. And we have the ID field, which we also have from the previous data. We just put it in there. And then we have the source video URL where we want to add the new URL. And this field, we also have the URL right here. So we can also add that here. And these are expressions. That means each time there's new data, it will also update. In this case, this is just, so we got 2 videos right now, 2 viral URLs, right? So it will also loop 2 times. If we had 10 viral URLs, this loop would happen 10 times for each video, add it to the sheet with each ID. And then right here, we would trigger the video generation workflow that will then, so the first workflow in line to generate the whole video, but I deactivated that just because I want to execute it manually with you. So why do I have this one item here? Quickly explaining that. If I didn't put that node in here, then now in this case, there is 2 items that come out of this node, right? Because we looped through 2 items. And then after they are done, each will get on with this path. If we have 10 items that we loop through, like 10 viral URLs, it would be 10 items here. But then we would trigger the process of video generation 10 times at once. So basically, the video generation process checks the sheet for any new URLs and generates them. But we only want that to happen 1 time at a time, right? We don't want it to generate 10 videos at once. Probably the server would crash. So we have this node here in n8n that limits it to 1 output item. So now it has 2 input items or 20 or 100, it doesn't matter. It will only output 1 item. And each item in n8n means 1 execution of the next node. So if we didn't have that node right here, then this workflow would execute 2 times at once and the whole system would collapse. So just so you know, this node limits the execution to 1. And now after I reloaded the sheet, you can see here there's the 2 new URLs that we added to the sheet. So now we have all those videos that will or would be generated overnight. The next workflow, and this is the first one in the video production pipeline that actually generates the video, it's the organizer. This workflow, it will grab a queued idea from the sheet, so a YouTube URL. It will get the video transcript of it, create the project location and trigger the other workflow like script generation, video generation, and so on. This is how it looks inside n8n. And here we have the sheet. So now if I click on that, I also will detach it from here so we can run those workflows manually. But now I click execute workflow. And if we go to this sheet right here and reload, you can see this data is set to processing and we have the project storage folder location added here. And this is also the main thing this organizer workflow does. First off, we have those settings here that don't change throughout the workflows. So why did I implement the settings node? The reason is simple. If you want to scale to more than one channel, you might just want to copy the workflow quickly over, right? And with this settings node, I only have to change those things and then I can immediately start using the workflow again. If I didn't have the settings node, I would have to go to each individual node and change the, for example, change the ID of that sheet here. This is the ID for this exact channel. If I start a new channel, then I have to go to this node, and have to go to the other workflows to the nodes. But here I have the settings node. I change it once and it will reference to this, what I typed in the settings node throughout all the workflow. So as you can see, for example, right here, this will reference the channel base name that we put into the settings at the beginning right here. And this is just the ID of the channel base of this sheet for this channel. So yeah, it grabs all the rows from that sheet. No matter if the row is done, processing or queued, we will grab all of them. And then we will have a switch node. This node, it checks, is the status anywhere here processing? If so, then we will stop the workflow process. Because if the status is processing, this just means a video is currently creating already. And I already stated, we only want to generate one video at a time. So that's why I implemented that. If it says processing, it will stop. If it doesn't, then all those different rows are clear. But now we still have to sort them because we want to grab the first free URL that we have in the sheet. And now if we look at this right here, then you can see there's still all the, this one that has status done. It's still there, right? So then we have a filter and this filter takes all them and checks if the status is equal to queued. This will sort out all the finished videos that have the status done. So we grab all of them, which are 519 items in this case. And then we grab the first item. And the first item, this would then literally be this one right here now. It was this one because I executed this workflow before. Previously, this also said queued. So then after this process happened, and this is why it says processing now. But yeah, anyways, here we prepare the data that we need for the transcript workflow. It's literally just the source video URL, so the video that we copied or adapt from the US market. And the transcript workflow looks like this. So it's just really simple. This is an API that returns the transcript for completely free. Then we remove the timestamps because this is how it looks before. It has all those timestamps. So I have this code node that removes all those timestamps. And now we have the clean output transcript. Then a summary. And this is literally just the first 100 words of this transcript. You will later see why that's important. And yeah, the output is just a summary and the transcript. So we later need that summary in this node, which generates the project name. And the project name, it will be just something simple that kind of fits the story, which will also be the name in the end under which the final video will be saved. And for the video description, this is just a simple prompt. It tells it to generate a short title for the video description. And this is just a summary. We could also paste in the transcript, but this would cost us way more tokens, take longer. And basically the first 100 characters of the story, they include the hook and they include everything that we need to generate this project name. Now I use a free open router model for that, so I don't pay anyway, but it's just better doing it that way. Now we slugify the name because as you can see, this name, it's not really machine friendly, right? You couldn't use this name as a URL. So if we slugify it, it will look like this and is way better to use for computers. So this name right here doesn't have any spaces or any weird signs. And this is just what slugifying it means. Then we add the project URL to the row. And this is this URL right here. So this will be the exact space where all those images and so on will be saved. And it's literally just the slugified name with some additional data that we put in the settings node. So the URL for my case this is my address where I self-host Minio, and the address is always like this to open the specific project location. So Minio is actually quite different than Google Drive because it's a object storage, and for object storages, you don't actually have to create a folder. You rather save the different files under those names, and the names will make them like a folder. So it sounds super complicated right now, but basically right here, I haven't created anything on Minio. I just have this path to the location, and if I click on it, I could even add something new to that path, right? I could say just random things right now. And if I open that link, this path will exist. So this is just how an object storage works. And so we can already add the link to the sheet without having even uploaded a single file on there. And then after we created that link, now we will go to the other workflows. The script workflow has the task to adapt the script without translating. So what we don't want to do is just translate the American script into German, French, Spanish, and so on. What we rather want to do is adapt it to the new context for each country we run the channels in, and then we rewrite the script in those languages. So an example would be in America, we have the US dollar, but in France, we have euros. So if we just translated it, we would have US dollars in a French story, and those people, they couldn't really relate with that story as well as if we actually had those contexts the same. And this is just an example, right? Another example would be in Germany, there's no high school. And so if we translated the story and a high school appears in there, it will also make no sense. So this just messes up the viewer satisfaction, and this is why we rather rewrite the story than translating it. This is how the workflow looks like. Let me just execute that from this workflow. So what I will do is I will pin the data of the organizer workflow, disconnect it here, and quickly disconnect it here, save that. Now if we execute it, you can see this will be triggered, and we can copy this execution. Now we can manually execute the whole workflow and see what it does live while it's doing it. One thing I forgot to mention is the input for the script workflow, which will be the transcript, the project name, which we will use to save the script under, the channel base name, which is just literally this sheet, the channel table name. This is just the base name is basically this part here, and the table name is this part, because one base might keep several channel tables. And so this is just the way NoCoDB handles that. The last one we have is the ID, which is the ID of this sheet, because we want to add the script there later, like the URL for the script. So we need the ID on which to put it in. And now the script workflow, let's execute it. And first off, it outputs a random number. This is what we need for writing the chapter. We have a n8n memory node, and this random number will just be the ID of the memory, because each time this workflow executes, so those memories don't overlap with the previous written ones. If we would just input a number here, like not an expression of a random number, if we just put 1 here, run the workflow 10 times, create 10 different stories, it might confuse the system. So we just generate a random number for each execution. Then first off, we use the transcript as input, and based on that, create a 3-act structure. This is just a prompt that tells it to divide the story into 3 chapters following the 3-act structure. Then we choose random character names for the German story. So the daughter-in-law, son, and mother. And this is because, you know, AI models, they tend to use the same names or same writing styles each time. And people in the comments complained that the names are always the same. So to prevent that, I have this code node that comes up with random names. Like if we look at the code, and there you can see here are just random names stored, and it will output a random one of those. So then we adapt this 3-act structure that we previously generated with this AI into a German 3-act structure, or like a Spanish one, French one. So now what's important is that we adapt it. Like it's not translated directly, but this prompt, it tells it, do not copy the English story, create your own structure based on the story, and so on. Like that it has the German context as well. So the output of that, it will go into this node right here, which is always the same prompt, but with the 3-act structure down there. And the difference is below it will say write chapter 1, write chapter 2, and so on. And this prompt is in German because whatever language the channel is in, I would suggest you to do the prompt in that language. So if you have a Spanish channel, then this actual writing prompt should be in Spanish as well, because then the AI, it just feels like it references its training data from those languages better too. So just the whole writing style will be better suited for the kind of audience. So now we just rename each. This one is called chapter 1, 2, 3, and we will rename each prompt and output it as different items, because also here it will only output one item, all with different names, but we need 3 items to loop through. So this node, it's super simple. It just tells it you will write a 3 chapter long story in this chat and so on, because the story will always be those 3 chapters long. And now this is literally only the prompt from the input. And the prompt, this is just telling it how to write the story. And then we have the 3-act structure. And because at the end it says write chapter 1, 2, or 3, it knows which chapter of the structure it has to write. But also because it already has the whole structure of all chapters, it knows the context better and how to frame the story the best way. Because otherwise, let's say you would just tell it to write chapter 1, but it wouldn't even know what happens in chapter 2. Then it might include things that make no sense and don't include things that would actually make sense. And this is how you write the best story with an AI system inside n8n. Then the last part, we will merge all those 3 chapters into one final script. And we use the script, first off, we will use it later to generate a voiceover, image prompts and so on. But we also upload it to Google Drive. So this is why we merge those 3 different written chapters into one full script. Then once we upload it with that node, we get an ID and response. We add that ID to the Google Drive URL. So this format will always be the same. drive.google.com/file/d/ then the ID of the file. And yeah, then the last part is just output the final script, because once we execute this workflow, if it would happen automatically, then after this node finished, it would actually have this script in the output. So actually it would look like this. And then this script can be used as input for the other workflows that run. The next 2 workflows, and they actually happen simultaneously, is the packaging workflow and video generation workflow. The packaging workflow, it will grab the title and the text on the thumbnail of the original video, the source video URL, and then adapt it into the other language with this data plus the script we've just written. Now into the packaging workflow. So I will execute it now. First off, it will collect video information. There's a free YouTube endpoint again that we can use here. This is literally this endpoint with the YouTube URL between that. And we reference it again with an expression here. So just so you know, this expression is literally, if we drag the URL right here at that part, then this would be how it looks like. So yeah, now we download the original YouTube thumbnail based on that URL that this endpoint gives us. So it will look like this now. Then we output the original thumbnail text. So this is just an AI model that can read those images and output the text that's on it. And we use a free OpenRouter VL model on that. By the way, for OpenRouter, I did not mention it yet, but if you load $10 of credit on it, you can make 1,000 requests per day to free models on there. So that means you have to pay $10 once. They are usable for 365 days. But in that time, you can make 1,000 requests per day. And there's oftentimes really great free models from OpenAI or Grok, because these are called stealth models. They use them with OpenRouter. They have probably some kind of contract. And so the model names aren't actually revealed, and they collect your data, which you obviously don't give a damn about that, right? Like, you just want to create your AI stories for as cheap as possible. So you can use those stealth models. They are often really good, and you pay 0 cents for that. So this is how I generate the scripts and packaging and so on for 0 cents. But now again to this whole workflow. So it will output the original text of the thumbnail, and then it will generate the packaging based on that. This is just a prompt telling it the specifics on what to do, what not to do. So in the end, we have a great thumbnail text. So this result isn't actually as good, but yeah, we can just use a different AI model, for example. So this time I used Devstrill. I just added a random free model, because normally for the workflows, I use DeepSeek, which is basically cost next to nothing. But for this video, I just changed to a free model, so you can know, like, with better prompting, you could definitely get great results with the free models on OpenRouter. And now while the packaging workflow runs, the video generation workflow also starts. And This one is the thing that puts everything together based on the script. So it will generate images. We use Z Image Turbo for that. Then it will generate the voiceover with Gen AI Pro, and it will render the final video. For that we use the NCA Toolkit, which is free software that this guy built. That's a great alternative to JSON to video API, and it costs 0 cents. You can just deploy it on your server, and then you can use it without any additional cost. This is the video workflow that generates the B-roll images, the voiceover, the captions, and puts everything together into one final video. First thing it does, it sets off a sub-workflow that generates the B-roll images, because as we know, we have 6 images all the time, and we have the script already, so we can generate the B-roll images while the audio is generating and save some time there. Now this workflow, I detached it so we can execute it as well ourselves, so you can see how that works. So if we click execute workflow, the first node, it generates image prompts based on the script, and then we split all those 6 prompts out. So we have one item after this node, but then we have 6 different prompts that we can loop through. Then we loop through each prompt. The loop data is the prompt text and the prompt ID. We need the prompt ID because here in the folder, you can see those images. This one is saved as scene_01. And this is basically also the prompt ID right here, scene01, 02, and so on. And later, once we save it to the folder, then you can see right here, we have this whole lot of expressions that basically save it under scene02. So we reference the name right here. And yeah, we generate the images with Z image. I also wrote it here. One image generation costs not even 1 single cent. As you can see, the output images, once they are downloaded, they look pretty nice. You can also use this model for every niche you want to. It's literally like a fraction of the cost of Nano Banana, but gets really close to that. And yeah, uploads those images, then it adds the zoom effect with our rendering API, downloads the images with zoom effect, which if we just check out one now, it will look like this. So it's really simple, just the image with a slight zoom in. Then it will upload both of them to the project. So if we actually look at the project here, we have those images, right? But we also have this clips folder, which is those images, but just with the zoom in effect added to it. It is now the next day, and I will explain this rest of the workflow to you. So we ended off with the B-roll image generation, and after that, we have a code node that splits the script into evenly chunks. So the whole script, this is a super long text, and what you might realize is if you render such long text to voiceover, then you will get errors. So for example, the audio might glitch at some points and it will get quieter, louder. But to prevent those, we just split the audio into different text chunks, and these are way smaller and they won't get those errors. But now we have to render those chunks still. And if you just send over one big chunk to voiceover generation, you can do that with one node, just one request to Gen AI Pro, and that's it. But if we have more different chunks, we don't just want to generate one chunk, then wait till it's finished, then generate the next one, wait till it's finished, and so on. It would take way too much time. So for that, I implemented this system that can generate multiple chunks at once. And later in the part of the workflow, it will just put all of those chunks together. Just like in an editing program, you will have chunk 1, chunk 2, and so on. And we will then render them into the complete voiceover. But to do that, we have to have some system in place. And I have this system. If you look at it from here, it will be not as easy to understand. So I have this little visualization, and you got to think of it like this. So we have this manager right here, and he has the task to distribute all the meal requests as good as possible, right? So let's say these chunks here, they are meal requests, and he has 20 of them. But he only has 3 cooks in his restaurant, and you can't just say, you will make 7 meals, now you will make 7, and you will make 7, because some meals, they might take longer, some meals might be ready quicker. So to distribute it in the most effective way, you will have a status board of what the chefs are doing. Are they ready to cook a meal now, or are they processing a meal right now? If they are already processing a meal, he won't send another meal to them, because this guy, he is cooking a meal right now. He can't just cook the next meal anyways. So we would have to wait until this meal is finished. But then he can just check Chef B, Chef C, which would be our workers in the workflow. And he sees Chef B is ready, so he will send the next available meal to Chef B. Then Chef B, he will now set the status to or she will now set the status to processing 2 because she is processing a meal now. Then the manager will check in 20 seconds again. He will see Chef C is ready, so he will send a meal to Chef C. And this way, all the time, all the workers are occupied with generating a chunk, or in this case, cooking a meal. This is the most effective way, because if we just would evenly distribute it, for example, then maybe Chef A has 7 meals that are super quickly finished, and then he's finished after 1 minute, but these other chefs, they will take 1 hour. But if we just check once a chef is ready and we'll give him just the next chunk, they will be occupied all the time. And this is basically how the system works. So it checks every 20 seconds on the worker sheet if a worker is ready. If so, he will send the worker off with this information, the chunk number, so the part when the voiceover happens, and the chunk script, what's in the voiceover. And then he will send that information over to the voiceover chunk workflow. This workflow is pretty simple. It's just the workflow that generates the voiceover on Gen AI Pro. So we have the simple node that takes the input chunk script here in the JSON, the voice ID and so on, generates the voiceover. Gen AI Pro returns this task ID, and then we wait 30 seconds, check the status of this. If the voiceover is ready, it's completed, then it will be downloaded. Otherwise, we just wait again 30 seconds. Once the voiceover is downloaded, we have it right here, and then we will upload it to our project. Change the status to ready again, because this loop right here, it is checking every 20 seconds or 10 seconds actually, in this case, if a new worker is available. In this case, we would only have a maximum of 10 seconds that a worker is not doing a voiceover right now. And so this is just a system I implemented because I don't only use this for voiceover, but also in case you have more servers to render a video, then you could make the time way quicker for one video to render. Let's say you only have one rendering API. Then you can also just only render one video at a time with this, right? But how I use the system is I have different servers, and then let's say I have 10 rendering APIs. So I could use the system to generate a video that's 50 minutes long in 10 different chunks. And this way, the video generation process will also be 10 times quicker for that video. So you could, in theory, generate a 2-hour-long video in 5 minutes with that system. And it's not only good for voiceovers, but also I implemented this for voiceovers because it also makes the generation quicker for voiceovers. So even though I provided the visualization, I tried to explain it, but you might have any more questions and just write them down in the comments, because I understand if it's not that intuitive to understand this at first. And at the beginning, when I used n8n, I also didn't have such a system. So now, if you just have any question, write them in the comments or shoot me an email. I will answer everything. So now, after the last worker is finished, then this loop node, it will go to the done output, because when all 13 items are looped through, this node just takes all those items, put them in the done output. And now the loop node, it has 13 items, but we only want to trigger the next node one time at a time. So that's why we use the limit node. Basically, I always do that in parts of the workflow where we have several input items. And I already told you each input item in n8n is one trigger of the next node. So if we have 13 input items, we would trigger this part of the workflow, this part 13 times at once. We don't want that. We only want it to happen once. So what it does is, it will wait 30 seconds, then it will check the worker again, just like this one does, and it will check until the last voiceover generation is finished. So it will grab all the workers and the status of the workers. Now it's all ready. If we go just below that, you can see one was processing, and it will check in this node, it will aggregate all those different into one, and then we will check if any of those workers have the status processing. If it contains processing, that would mean that the voiceover is still generating. So we will loop again, wait 30 seconds, go through it again until all workers are ready. And this just ensures all voiceover chunks are finally generated until we can merge them into one final voiceover. So after this one is finished, we will go to this part, and this right here, it will merge all the voiceover into one. So we have more than one voiceover chunk, right? And we only want one voiceover for the video. And this is why we have this part right here that references the code node. And if you remember, this not only generates the different chunks from this long script, but it will also give the chunks a number and output the total chunks existing. We need that because then we know if there are 13 voiceover chunks, they will always have the exact same name. So they will always be saved under exactly this location. just with the name Voiceover chunk 1, Voiceover chunk 2, and so on. And this code node knows that. So if we just provide the code node with how many chunks there are and under which location they can be downloaded, it knows 13 chunks. So I must render chunk 1, chunk 2, chunk 3, and so on until I have 13 chunks. So you can see the output looks like this. The file URL, audio minus chunk minus 1.mp3, and then chunk 2, chunk 3, until we have 13 chunks. So this is just that our rendering API knows it has to render those 13 chunks into one voiceover. This is what this part does. It literally takes like 5 seconds to render that, so it's super quick. Then we upload that voiceover file to the project, and this is how the project then looks. So you can see this is the location where the chunks are saved, and once each chunk is generated to the full audio file, it will be saved as a complete voiceover under the same folder. And then after this is generated, we have the full file, so now we can generate the captions from that. We use Assembly AI. They give you like $50 and free credits once you sign up for a free account. And then we wait 20 seconds, request a transcript. Maybe it might still be processing on the assembly servers, so then we would loop through it again. But in this case, it was finished after 20 seconds. So we download it from them. And then some issue I had with Assembly AI. So the transcript, it was somehow 600 milliseconds too late. So I have this code node, it just takes the input transcript here and it shifts it minus 600 milliseconds. So the captions actually match the audio in this video. And then the thing we do here, we convert the SRT, which is in JSON, to a text file. And this text file, it's literally the same SRT, just as a .txt. And then this txt file, for the rendering API to use that as actual captions, we have to save it as a SRT file, because FFmpeg, it always needs to have the file ending included in the file. So it knows which type of file it is. For example, for images, they always have to be named image.jpg or image.png. And for videos, always video.mp4, because otherwise FFmpeg, it can't just check the file which it is. So we have to let it know. And for the transcript, it has to be a SRT file. So our rendering API, it knows, okay, this is the file I use for the captions of the video. And this SRT format, it's pretty popular. So the FFmpeg already knows these are the timestamps of when the text has to show. And this is the text that has to show at that time. And as it's always the same format, this is the great part about it, right? So this workflow, this is the thing with n8n. If some things change throughout the workflow, then it can work. But if it's always the exact same format with just different text, then it will always work. So this is why the system for the channel, it will always create those videos automated and will never fail or anything. And then, yeah, we set the input data for final video. These are just the different URLs that will combine into the whole video. As I already told you, it will be a 1-minute loop that loops throughout until the video is finished. So we have the loop video download URL. For the video rendering API, we use the NCA toolkit. It's also important that these are the direct download links. So you can see this expressions here, once they are calculated, they will go to this link. And if we just open this link in a new tab, let me just do that, then you can see it will directly download this loop video, and we can also open it. And this is the 1-minute loop that we use for the video. So it has to be the direct download links. Just in case you know, because Google Drive, normal download links, you would open them and then you will only first have to click download. But these links, you just open them and they will immediately download. This is the difference. So if you want to rebuild a workflow like this, you can't use Google Drive because then it would not render. And then we have the voiceover download URL. This is also the URL for downloading the complete voiceover, which we see right here. But also here, if we open this link, we only have to click on it, then click on download. And these are the direct download links. So you just open it, it will download. Then we have the SRT download from the transcript and for the overlay we used. So just again here, this is what we input in the settings node at the beginning. If we had a history channel, say, then this would be like a fire overlay or whatever. But also we need this direct download URL so we can implement it into the video creation. And then this code node, this is just the code that takes this input data and based on that creates the body for the rendering API. So because this data, it will change based on the project name, right? Like we don't have the videos under the same project name. If you look here, So these are all the different project names for the videos on that channel. And it has to know under which exactly the files are saved. So this is why we have this code node, and the input will not be exactly the same, but it will be the same format. So we need a code node that prepares the input. So based on this information, it will make this format for the rendering API. And then we just send this to the rendering API, literally the exact what the code node creates, input that in the JSON body under our URL for the rendering API. And then the video will render, will return the finished URL once the video is finished. Right here we have the video. We'll upload that to our video project folder. As you can see, if we click right here, this will be the final video. We can quickly watch it.
Die Tür fliegt auf und da steht mein Vater.
So yeah, this is basically the content I post, and that's it. Then we will set the project status to done, because until then it was still processing. So the first organizer workflow knew that a video is rendering right now. But now that the video is finished, it can set the status to done and the specific date when this video was finished. And then it will trigger the first workflow again, the organizer workflow. Because now this one right here, you can see the first idea scrape workflow. It added many ideas to that, but the video generation workflow can only generate one video at a time. So what we do is the video generation workflow, it will trigger the first workflow again. And as the first workflow had this mechanism at the start where it checks if a video is processing, but now this status is set to done. So a video can process again. And this basically then happens overnight and creates the videos while you sleep, because the workflow, it will run, it will create the first video, then trigger this again. And as you can see, there's a new URL. It will process this video, and then it will trigger again. It will process this one, trigger again, process this one, and so on until all videos are finished. And then the workflow is finished and you wake up and have like 5 videos that you can just post throughout the day. So this is a really great system because you literally don't have to do anything. You can apply it to any niche that you want. As the idea scraping workflow, you don't only have to use it for those revenge videos. You can use it for history niche or like other revenge niche. You can literally use it for any English AI video niche, because those videos, they all include like similar images. And even though this one only uses 6 images, you could also adapt the B-roll workflow so you generate like 100 images, and then you have a more thorough video for some, I always say like history niche. I know it's not like this easy type of just do this and then you make 10K per month. It's not like that, but the gurus that tell you that, they are not really actually running those channels, I would believe, because then, you know, with this system, you can actually scale to 20 or more channel as a single person. If you manually edit those videos like they tell you, or you use tools like, I won't mention the name, but there is a tool that will also kind of automatically generate you B-roll image and audio, but it's kind of expensive. So I only pay a few cents per videos. That's why I can scale so huge. It will take some time to learn this whole thing, but once you got it down, you can start so many channels, and that if only like 2 or 3 of them work, you can hit 10K per month so easy with this. And right now it still works. I don't know how long this whole thing will work, because obviously now just this video, I don't know if even it will get like 1,000 views. So maybe you will be lucky. I don't think many people actually will watch this to the end and implement those systems. So yeah, this is just something I wanted to say at the end, because I still think like the videos on YouTube with the most views on YouTube automation, it's like those videos, how I make 20K per month with this channel. And then they will show some old niche or just some methods that actually don't work, so they can sell you their tool where you pay like $10 per AI video. If you have any question, I already told you, then message my email. And I also will reveal more source in my newsletter, like things I can't talk about publicly on YouTube, and might reveal some more of my channels. So there's one channel I will definitely show in my newsletter. It's currently making like 4 to 5K per month. And this niche, it's still like undersaturated. So I just monetized a new channel in that niche 2 weeks ago. And that's why I don't want to really show it on YouTube yet. I will reveal it in my newsletter in the upcoming days. But yeah, if you just want some more YouTube source, I will do everything in my free newsletter. Just click on the description. And the same email on the newsletter, you can just reply to the mails. I'm also working on something way bigger, but you will see more of that in the newsletter as well. And I will try to post often on this YouTube channel, but maybe more of the topic stuff on AI automation. So this video was actually quite more deep dive than I actually initiated for this channel. But yeah, I hope many of you like the source in this video. If you also just want the workflow, also when you sign up to my newsletter, you will get all the workflows with instruction. And that's it for now.